Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on UppTalk. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say UppTalk. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Today, let's talk about the different types of password management issues that you are going to face in running cyberpunk infrastructure and how to be resolved. Some common type of issues. Quickly log into the AD server. Alright, there are two types of password management issues. First are known issues. The familiar error code. You will be aware of the resolution steps. Let's say some common steps of resolutions that is already documented and you do not even need to check the logs and you would be aware of all those problems and resolution steps. Some tasks that you might delegate to operations and support teams. We will understand some common examples of known issues. In this session, we are going to talk about some common examples of known issues, and there are going to be unknown issues as well. Unknown issues inside cyber that are going to be completely, you're not very sure of what resolution steps would be. The restraints is going to be completely new. The restring is completely new, and you are not able to figure out what would be the problem and what would be the resolution steps. In that case, what approach you need to take in order to resolve those problems. It's something that we are going to learn here. Approach in case of known issues. Approach in case of unknown issues and common example in case of known issues is what we are going to run in this session. Let's talk about the example 1. First example. Password not in synchronization. If the password is not in synchronization with the target system, the automatic password management are going to fail. Passwords unsynchronized. In this case, what's going to happen here is when the password is unsynchronized, there are going to be errors in the password management process. Core error, will look something like this. It's going to say invalid or incorrect username and password. Because what happens in the password management process is CPM uses the account onboarded. In this case, let's talk about PA1. The CPM is going to use the account that is onboarded inside the CyberArk PA1 username and the password. This password is going to be used by CPM to automatically log into this address PA1 username. And this password is going to be used by CyberArk CPM to automatically log into the respective target system or this particular address. And once it is logged in, it's going to reset the password automatically. This is the password change process. We have talked about change and verification. This is how automatic password management works. But what happens if the password is not correctly updated in CyberArk? What happens if the password is not synchronized in CyberArk? In that case, you have to either manually sync the password or use the reconciliation. Let's see how it works. Right now, the password is synchronized. If I click on verification now, if I click on verify verification, if you remember verification, we have already talked about verification is a process where CyberArk logs into the Active Directory or the respective target address to see whether the password it has at this point of time is correct or not. If the password is correct, CyberArk will be able to use this account and username and password to log in into the Active Directory or any other target system. If the login works, that means password is correctly updated and end users, if they retrieve the password on CyberArk, they will get access to the correct password. But if the password is not correctly updated, CyberArk would not be able to log in. In that case, the password verification will fail. And along with the password verification, every single password management operation is going to fail. And end users, individuals, if they retrieve the password or try the connection, that wouldn't work because the password is not correctly updated and your accounts will fail. There is no point of keeping that account in CyberArk in that case. We need to ensure that the passwords are correctly updated on CyberArk at all time and it is synchronized with the respective target system, the respective Active Directory in this case. Let's see how do we resolve these types of problems. What are the ways we can synchronize the password when it is not in synchronization? The verification, as you can see, the verification is successful as of now. I can see the last verification. Date and time is this. That means today's date and time, and that means it is successful. It is working. If I go to the Activities tab, I can see the Verify Password action was success. That means the password has been verified. But let's say if I go to the Active Directory, if I log into my Active Directory and manually change the password of PA1 in the Active Directory, how does that affect Cyber? If I go to Active Directory now, I'll manually change the password. This is not an ideal practice. I'm just showing you as an example. If something like this happened, if someone changes the password without updating the correct password inside CyberArk, all the password verification or the password change process is going to fail. You are not supposed to do this. But if this happens, how do you fix the problem? Let me write another password. I just changed the password of the PA1 account in Active Directory without updating the correct password inside CyberArk. If I trigger the verification, now the verification is going to fail and it's going to give me this particular error saying incorrect username and password. That means all the password management operations are going to fail. And if the users retrieve the password from here, they will not have access to the correct password. That password is not going to work because CyberArk still has the old password. Someone has changed the password manually in the target system. Let's see how do we fix those issues. Let's wait for this verification to complete. This usually takes 2 to 3 minutes. Let's wait for this to complete. You just click on reconcile. Is that? No, this is just a verification. We'll talk about reconciliation in a few minutes. Where is the button for verification here? It's already scheduled for verification. That's why I'm not seeing it again. And typically, how many times does it try before it says, yes, it's a failure? Just once. It's going to try again. It's going to try again after a consecutive. Whatever interval it has right. Let's say you have to find every 3 days the password. Verification should happen automatically. The first time it tries, it does not work. It's going to issue an alert if the alerts are configured. It's going to turn the accounts red on your UI. It's going to try again on the second attempt after 3 days. It's going to make 5 consecutive attempts after all those 5 consecutive attempts. If it does not work, it's going to disable the password management automatically. In this case, if you have 3 days, it's like day 15, what you're saying. But it's going to trigger alerts every time. I don't know why it is a success. I think it's not updated yet. Let's trigger this verification. I tried this verifying the password for one of the accounts. I'm getting some error called CPM engine signature. Error verifying CPM engine signature bin/pass change.x. Can you do this, Pishish? Let me show you. You need to go to this configuration system CPM setting. You need to make sure that this verify engine signatures is set to no. The engine of the CPM has expired. Go to our configuration options, CPM setting. Make sure that the engine signature is disabled. Just make sure after you do this, just make sure you restart the Central Policy Manager service, the Password Manager service in the CPM server. All right. We need to fix this alert. We need to fix this problem. As soon as this error comes on the screen, the alerts will be generated to the administrators and auditors, and administrators will have the responsibility to fix this problem. Now, there are two ways we can fix this problem. In resolution 1, we can manually update the password on the target systems. All we need to ensure that the password we have in CyberArk matches to the password that we have updated on the target system. Manually update the passwords on target system. Target system means the place where the account is created. For PA1, this is an Active Directory domain account created on Active Directory. We can simply copy the passwords from here. We can copy the password from here and update it on Active Directory, and that will fix our problem. But as a CyberArk administrator, you might not have access to the different target systems. Let's say there was a database account. You might not have access to the database instances to log into those database and update those passwords manually. In that case, you might have to share the credentials, copy the password from CyberArk and share the credentials to someone that has the authorizations to log in and do the password reset. Most likely, it's going to be the respective infrastructure team. For database, there is going to be a separate database team that will be taking care of the database instances. You need to share the passwords with them. Active Directory support team is going to be there. You need to share the passwords with them. But if you do that, the first thing you are doing here, you are sharing the passwords through email or maybe Teams chat, which is not a very ideal process. You should not share the password this way. It's going to be very long and very tedious process. You have to wait for the responses and you have to coordinate with them in order to fix this small problem. That is why we have an alternative for this problem, this resolution here. Resolution 2 is reconciliation. Resolution 2 is reconciliation. We can use reconciliation. In this reconciliation, if you remember, passwords are going to be generated in CyberArk Vault first and later those passwords. CyberArk is going to use the more powerful account to log into the system. More powerful account. In this case, we'll have to assign a domain administrator account which CPM can use to log into the respective Active Directory and trigger the password reset for the Pi1 account. Step As soon as we trigger the reconciliation step, one password will be generated for the account where the reconciliation is triggered. Password will be generated for the account where the reconciliation is triggered. Step CPM uses the high privileged account to log in to the target system. Step 3. Since it is logged in as a high privileged account that has the capability to reset password, the password reset will be triggered for the target account. The password reset will be triggered. In this case, password reset will be triggered for Pi1 in the Active Directory. What would be the new password? The one that was generated on step 1. That's all reconciliation does. Reconciliation is a process of using high privileged account to force reset the password of accounts created within the same system. That can save us the trouble of sharing the password and waiting for the infrastructure team to update those passwords manually. We can avoid some manual work. Use the reconciliation process to automatically synchronize the password without any manual intervention and without sharing the credentials to anyone. Right. All we need is a high privileged account created within the same system where our account exists. Let's see how the reconciliation works. I'll simply create an account in Active Directory, reconcile account. In case of Active Directory, the domain administrators can act as a reconciliation account. I'll just create an account here and provide the domain administrator permission. right? For the cyber app to recognize this reconciled account, we'll have to onboard this reconciled account into CyberArk. Let's quickly onboard this account and onboard it into the same platform and same safe. Let's select the Windows System Type Domain Account Platform Use Case Safe. This will be the IP address of Active Directory. Username will be Rika and password will be CyberApp Home. Alright. Now that the Recon account is onboarded, we'll quickly associate the reconciled account with this particular Pay1 account. We have option here to associate a reconciled account. I'll just select the Recon account that we have just onboarded. This is a domain administrator account. CPM is going to use this domain administrator account to automatically log into the Active Directory and reset the password of the Pay1 account. Step 1 is CPM generates the password for PA1 on CyberApp. Step 2, CPM uses the Recon account to log into the Active Directory. Step 3, the password reset will be triggered for the PA1 on the Active Directory. What would be the new password? The one that was generated on step 1. Right now, if you see, the password is CyberApp1. When I trigger the reconciliation, a new password will be generated here and the same password will be updated on the Active Directory for PA1 account as well. Let's trigger the reconciliation. Let's see how it works. In this case, it will choose a random password or it's going to choose a random password and you can define the complexity of the password on a particular platform. We can show you that. Let's just wait for this to complete. Alright, the account is successfully reconciled. If I see the password now, you see there is a random password generated and which is the password that is updated on the Active Directory as well for PO1 account. We have the password in synchronization. If I click on the verification right now, the verification would be successful. And all the password management process will work as per what we have defined in our policy. Connections will also work because now we have the correct password updated at both the places on CyberApp and on the target system. And this is how exactly similar it is. This is the way it works for other target systems as well. If you have a Linux machine or if you have a database instance, any other target system, this is how the password management operations are going to work. You can use the reconciliation process to automatically synchronize the password. Makes sense. Can you show once again how we linked this account? Linked PA1 to this reconcile account. All you need to do is For the reconciliation, all you need to do is click on the Associate button. And right now it is already associated. Let me clear this and show it to you once again. If I click on Associate, there are multiple options here. You can search for your account. If the account comes up, I just click on Associate. And can this be done for multiple accounts at once? Simultaneously, yes. You can do it on the platform level at once. Let's say you have thousands of accounts in one platform. You can do it on the platform level directly. Like the platform level or individual account level. All you need to do for that, let me exactly show you. If I go to Platform Management, there is a Windows domain account. Right-click and edit. Automatic Password Management, Password Reconciliation. There are 3 parameters that you need to define. Not exactly 3, the one is already defined. Reconcile account saved, which save the account the recon account belongs to, and the name of the reconcile account. You define all these parameters and the account will be associated to entire Windows domain account platform. And I'm assuming that this is the password for this reconcile account will also change as per the policy defined for this particular platform. Alright. If you click on, let's say, generate password, you can define the complexity of the passwords that are going to be generated during the password management process. You can define the length, uppercase, lowercase. All of these functionalities are here. Alright, it's going to take some time. We'll come back to this later on. This is how the password reconciliation can be done. Right. Another very common type of error you're going to notice in running infrastructure is connectivity issues. Connectivity issues. When your passwords are still correct, but you're not, your CPM has failed to manage the password. Due to connectivity issues, you're going to see some error like network path not found. In this case, in this particular connectivity issues, there can be multiple cases. Case 1A, either the server is decommissioned, or maybe the server is in maintenance window. It's shut down in the maintenance window. And since it was not running, the CPM was not able to connect to the server. And that is why you are getting an error which has network path not found. For case 1, the resolution should be very straightforward. All you need to ensure that you need to check with the respective infrastructure team that the instances are started correctly. Out of maintenance window only when they are running retrigger the password management operation. Retrigger the password management operation when the servers are running. Case 2. When the servers are outside the network, servers outside the network or domain. Outside the Active Directory domain where CPM server is created. In that case, when CPM tries to connect to the respective target systems, there are going to be some firewall restrictions in place. When the server is outside the network or domain, the firewall restrictions are applied. In those cases when your CPM is not able to communicate to the particular system due to firewall issues, you have to open the firewall exception from the CPM server to the respective target server where you want to manage the password. From the CPM server to the respective server where you want to manage the password, you have to make sure that the respective firewall ports are open. This port it's going to vary based on different types of target systems. For Windows, you might require SMB port, which is basically some undefined 38, 139, and 445. This is what you need for Windows servers. The accounts are created on Windows Server and the server is outside the domain. From the CPM server to the respective Windows server, you'll have to make sure that all these ports are open. Even the RDP port needs to be open. The 3TD9 port needs to be open. And this is not as a CyberArk administrator. You are not responsible to open these ports. This is something that your organization's network team is going to work on. All you need to do is communicate your requirements to the respective team that is looking after the firewall ports, and they will be able to help you with the port opening request. For Linux, this can vary for Linux or any SSH-based connection. For Windows, we use RDP protocol. For Linux, you use SH protocol. For any SSH-based connection, you'll have to make sure that from CPM server to the respective server where you want to manage the password that the account is created, the port number 22 is open that CPM can communicate to the Linux server. For different types of target systems, there are going to be different port requirements, and this is not something that you'll have to remember. Some standard documents are there. CPM ports and protocols. Let's say I'll just search for CPM ports CyberArk. The standard documentation is there. It's going to give you the list of all the ports that has to be opened from your CPM server to the respective system for Windows. SMB ports are there. Let's say for databases. For databases, you have Oracle 1521 has to be open, MySQL 1433 has to be open. For SH connections or Linux connections, you might need port number 22. Let me bring this link to you on the chat window. This is not something that you need to remember. This is something that you can take a reference from the document. Standard ports and protocol that needs to be opened for the connections to be there, for the connectivity to be there from your CPM server to the respective target system. You'll have to make sure that these ports are open. And this is only applicable when your servers are outside the Active Directory domain. And this is only applicable when your servers are outside the Active Directory domain. Whenever your servers are in the same domain where your CPM is stored, you should not need any firewall port. The communication should be allowed by dproxy. These are the most common issues that you are going to see from the known issues. These are the issues that you are going to face in the running infrastructure. Let's talk about the approach that you need to take in case of unknown issues when there are very strange error code in front of you and you are not aware of the error string. You do not have a clue on what's happening on the password management process, where exactly CPM has failed. In that case, the first step you need to take is you go through the logs. Go through CPM logs. What's CPM log? Where do you find it? you'll find the CPM logs in the C drive, local drives of Central Policy Manager server. We have installed the CPM on the same server where the PBOA is installed. I'll just open the C drive here. Let's talk about the location. I go to the C drive program files 86, CyberArk folder, password manager folder, and logs folder. This is where you find the CPM logs. Let me type that on the chat window as well. This is where you find the CPM logs. We have the first file you need to check. Here is pm_error password manager_error file. If I open this file contains the error related to all the password management issues that you have been facing in your CyberArk architecture. Since the day we deployed the CPM, I know we have. This is basically related to any CPM issues and not really restricted to the password management issues, any CPM issues. Right, we can see the engine signature error as well. Engine signature error as well. And we also have the password management issue that we just saw a few minutes ago. The username and password is incorrect. This is the first file you need to check on in order to understand the error that you're facing. But as you can see, it might not be very clear from the particular error string. Right? Because you have a lot of error related to other operations as well. If that happens, if this log file is not helpful, you can take a reference from dedicated log files on your CPM folder and the CPM server. You go to third-party folder. You're going to have dedicated files created for each account where the password management is happening. For PA1, you're going to have separate file created or dedicated separate file created for PA1. This is only going to show you the errors that are related to the password management happening on the PA1 account. This log file is going to be dedicated and specifically created for PA1 account will only give you the errors related to PA1. But in this case, we will have some dedicated logs. But even in this case, sometimes you only see error string and not a lot of information. As you can see, this information was even available in our POA. If that happens, even this log might not give you enough details that you need in order to troubleshoot further. And if that happens, you need to increase the capability of the logs. This is the second step. We need to increase the capability of the logs. The debug level of the logs can be increased. The first step is we need to go through the CPM logs. CPM log sim_error, which is not dedicated. Third-party logs is going to be specifically created for each account. But even things are not clear with the third-party logs. The step 2 is increase the debug level. Increase the debug level. When you increase the debug level, the logs are going to be generated in more detail and it's going to give you the steps that are involved during the password management process and at what step CPM failed. That is the information you can extract from the logs if you have the debug level increased. How do we increase the debug level? Let's understand this. If I go to the configuration option once again and CPM setting, General, there is a parameter here called CPM debug levels. Right now it is set to 1. 1 being the lowest level of details. You can increase the value up to 6. 6 being the highest level of logs that you're going to have. If you increase the debug value up to 6, That means every single information, every single event in the password management process is going to be reflected in the logs. At what exact step CPM has failed to manage the password? That is something you can know by looking at those logs. Was it the login sequence where CPM failed? Was it the password management process? What exact step the CPM has failed? You can understand when you have debug logs, debug levels increased to 6. But by default, you do not keep the value to 6 because in that case, the logs are going to be generated in very, very high details are going to be there and logs are going to be generated in huge sizes. And that's going to consume a lot of space in your CPM server, ultimately causing the performance issues in your CPM server. If you have enough log files, because thousands of accounts can be there and thousands of password management operations can trigger in every day in a large scale implementation, it's going to consume a lot of space if you increase the debug level because the logs are going to be dedicatedly created for each single account, each account that is there in the cyber. Debug levels, you can increase the value up to 6. That will give you every step that is going to be followed. That was followed during the password management process. Increase the debug level and you can understand the steps involved. Step 3. However, let's say even after the debug level, the process was not clear enough for you. The resolution steps was not clear enough. Step 3. In that case, you'll have to take external help. Every time you increase the debug level, do you have to restart the service? What do you have to do? Does it take you immediately? Any change that you make on the configurations, right, there is actually 5 to 6 minutes of refresh interval where PVWA is going to refresh those settings. And only after that interval, those new modifications will be in effect. If you want that to be restarted, if you want that changes to be effective immediately, you can do a restart. All right, step 3 here. If even after the debug levels are getting the logs in more detail, it's not enough. We might have to look at the external help. There is a community portal. Whenever you join an organization that is working on cyber, that is a customer of CyberArk or a partner of CyberArk, they are going to enable access to a community portal for each individual who is working on CyberArk. And this community portal contains the articles and discussions related to CPM password management issues. Articles and discussions related to password management issues. We can go through these articles, maybe search your error code, maybe post your queries here, and you can get some answers. Just like you have the GitHub, right? Similarly, we have a community portal inside CyberArk, and you can post your queries. You can get some answers from here. Let's say if you do not have much time, that you do not want to post your queries and wait for a few days to get the answers. You do not have that much time and account is a very priority based account. In those cases, you can skip the step 3 and raise customer support case. That is the last result. There is a customer support case with CyberArk vendor. That is the last result that you can go for if nothing works. But before going to this support case, before raising a support case, you have to ensure that you have done all your due diligence and you have gone through all these steps. And only when things were not clear, you went to the support. Because they are going to ask for a lot of logs and you have to make sure that all those troubleshooting, all those basic troubleshooting has already been completed. That you can save your time and some efforts. These are the approach that you take in case of unknown issues, but most likely 70 to 80% of the time, these are going to be the issues that you are going to face in a running infrastructure. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@therightuptalk.com.